Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, because you could be watching this at any time of the day. It is your fave duo from out here, Ryan Z from Healthy Him and
Dwayne from the Networks program. What's good, y'all? Oui, bonjour. Okay.
I cannot. So we are wearing, the berets today. We are paying homage to our ancestors. Okay. Without further ado, we want to always thank Pyro Media for, producing us so beautifully. APLA Health for giving us, the jobs we have today.
Woo, woo.
And CD Safe for bringing the Monty Hunty.
Yes,
okay.
They make it rain, baby.
Okay, every week they got the money. They do, though.
They do.
How you feeling, co-host?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling black. I know that berets are French, but our producer said it was giving sassy Black Panther, and I'm okay with that too,
Okay.
Because honestly, most of the time when I do wear like my berets and stuff, it does be like, how's the people?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized, productive, getting these goals done. I'm hungry though, because we don't never get to eat on these days most of the time, y'all. Like it's crazy. Tuesdays be a mess. But we here for y'all. How you feeling, co-host?
Like you said, I have not eaten since 10 a.m. this morning. So I'm feeling a little, I've been trying to, what I'm saying, trying to get my energy back and live the life and everything.
Right.
But I'm here and I'm excited today because a guest is here today, and I love this guest so much, so I'm excited,
Ooh.
But without further ado, let's get into what we do at Out Here.
Yes. Okay, before we get into the guests, before we get into the main topics and all of that things. Okay, so Out Here. Okay, we do
a little ratchet. It's okay.
Rapid HIV testing, STD and STI testing and treatment. Okay. We also do PrEP and PEP services, and we have our groups that we will get into in just a moment.
What's PrEP?
Okay, so real quick, PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis. Okay, which also, if y'all don't know what that means, that's basically like birth control, but for HIV. So it's a pill. There's two versions, and they're coming out with an injectable. So stay tuned, because we'll probably mention that on here as well.
That's right.
That you take, but for now, it's a pill that you take once a day to prevent you from getting HIV, and it is 99.9% effective. Okay. And there are two types. There's Truvada and Descovy. Descovy works for only cisgender men. Okay, only cis men. Okay, if you are a trans man or any type of the vaginal persuasion, Descovy is not for you. You should go with Truvada. And yeah. PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis. So that's if you was out once, I had a couple of drinks, you seen somebody at the bar. It was like, I like that. And then, you did the little 1-2 and was like, oh shit, I ain't had no condom or nothing. It was just, I was just in the moment. You'll come see us. If we're not available, you'll go to an emergency room and they'll prescribe you PEP. PEP stands for post-exposure prophylaxis. I know I said that in the beginning, but I'm saying it again. Okay. And that is a 28-day supply. It's a couple of different pills depending on like your health and things. They will prescribe the collaborative pills for you, but you will take that for basically a month, and it will hopefully help you stop you from seroconverting, i.e., contracting HIV. If that person happened to be positive and not undetectable.
Correct. What's undetectable?
Hold on. You have 3 days from exposure. That's 72 hours to get prescribed PEP. Past that, in Los Angeles County, they're just kind of be like PrEP. It's unfortunate, but the medicine doesn't really work as well the longer you have been exposed to HIV, because the cells generate rather quickly. And that's a good question, co-host. What's undetectable? Undetectable equals untransmittable, i.e., if you are HIV positive and you have been taking your meds and things like that, your CD4 levels are going to be so low that you can no longer pass HIV, okay? And that is what undetectable means.
Okay. Now let's get into Healthy Him. Now, Healthy Him, we have our checklist where we are giving out up to $100 now, y'all. It used to be $50. This flyer we got right here, y'all see it? Y'all probably can't see it, but it say $50. But now it's $100. So we are doing those who get STI testing with us. So if you're a Black queer man between the ages of 18 and 39, you get STI testing, you get HIV testing, and then if you get the monkeypox vaccinations, the first one and the second one. Okay, it's 2 doses. You get the first and second one, you get $100 from us, simply. Just for getting tested and vaccinated. $100. Black queer men, 1839 in LA, obviously. So,
okay,
boom.
so that means if you 40 Unfortunately, you do not qualify. But if you still want a little coin, you can come see me at Networks and you can get a rapid HIV test for $25. And if you bring a friend, you get an extra 20. So holla at me.
Boom. Okay. And if you refer on our behalf on Healthy Him, we give you 10. So hey.
Ooh.
Boom. That's $110 if you do everything and still refer somebody. Refer 10 people, you get $100 like that too. So you can make $200.
Or 45.
Look, you could be living your life.
Mm-hmm.
But also, y'all see this box right here. We have a commercial later, but Swab and Chill. Swab and Chill is an at-home HIV test kit. So essentially, if those who do not want to come to the clinic and you want to know the status in the comfort of your own home, you could be like, you know what? Send this box to me. We send the box. It comes with a bunch of goodies. Yeah. It comes with a bunch of goodies inside, you know, sanitizer, wipes, all the things that you need.
Yes.
And you take the test. It's a swab of your mouth. That is it. And it tells you your status in 20 minutes. That's it.
Do I need insurance or
Easy
anything
like
for that?
You sure don't? It's free.
It's free.
It's free.
Oh, I ain't got to swap my EBT.
Okay.
I
cannot.
I know that's right. I know that's right. But anyway, let's get into our what, co-host?
And that's not that.
Oh,
so also for those who are already know their status, they can be linked into care.
You're right.
Exactly.
Linkage.
So for those who already know their status and are like, I am positive and I don't know where to go, we can link you into care. If you haven't been in care in a very long time, we can also link you back into care. So we do all the things. Okay. We also can hook you up with housing. We can do enrollment. We learned all this other stuff the other day.
Okay.
But we know where to link you
pantry,
now. Food pantry, all of that.
Several food pantries.
So
actually.
it's all for you. Okay. But now, co-host, let's get into our groups. Okay.
Our what?
Our groups.
I know that's right. Okay.
So what we do on Tuesdays?
So on Tuesdays, we had every first and fourth, right? Actually, never mind. So every Tuesday, sorry y'all, that's how you know we live. Every Tuesday we have my hip hop class at Out Here Baldwin Hills. Okay. I typically try to switch up the style. I take requests. You know, we have a survey where I'll take, you know, song suggestions and things like that. And we just have a really good time. It's a very safe and fun environment. It's available for all levels, okay? All body types, all shapes and sizes, okay? I always tell people this is your class. We will go as fast or as slow as we want, as y'all want to go, okay? I won't go as fast as I'm talking right now. What else? Oh, bring a friend. We are also offering during class, if you want to get tested, if you want to have like a rapid HIV test, we are offering rapid HIV tests during my hip hop class now. So if you want to get a little finger, it's just a little finger prick and we'll give you a $25 gift card. And again, if you bring a friend, we'll give you an extra 20. Okay.
How much? 20.
So let's get into it. Come in, get a little cardio, get a little finger prick, get a little money, honey. I don't see no downs to that. I really don't.
At all.
And then every second and fourth Wednesday, we have Men's Mountaintop. Whoop, whoop. At CDU MLK. Unfortunately, it is canceled tomorrow. Okay. However, it will be back in 2 weeks. Okay. And that is a group for Black and Brown, MSM, okay? We will be talking about all things that we go through in life. We'll be educating y'all on PrEP and PEP, as we mentioned earlier today, okay? HIV, ending the HIV epidemic, okay? And then we get into some nice subjects. And then we also offer rapid HIV testing, and the same incentives and rules apply, okay? But don't think you come to my class and then go to Men's Mountaintop and think you're going to get the same thing. That's not how that works. You want more details? Hit me up, okay? At networks.outhere, okay?
On Thursday, so we have BQT, okay? Black Queer Talks, y'all. We also had our last episode last week where we basically did it live in front of y'all, Black Queer Talk. But we do this every week, okay? Healthy Him, 4:30 to 5:30. But Black Queer Talks essentially about love, sex, relationships, and all those things in between. We have a group of people who come and we just talk about all the things. Every first Thursday, we have a mental health with our Black queer therapist who comes and gets us together, y'all, okay? Last time we talked about trauma, anger. Another time we talked about how we felt about ourselves, our family. It was just like people started crying. It was really like emotional. It was heartfelt. It was good. Wow. And we like just creating the space because we don't have those spaces here in America in general, but like also mainly in like LA where there's like solely just Black people. So Black queer people. Yes.
Black queer
men. You're right. Black queer men.
Of all, variations and shapes and sizes and, life experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with that, let's tie that in now because that goes with our, subject today. Let's bring in the main topic with our guest. Come on.
Yes.
Today we are talking about It's a Hard Not Life, y'all. Welcome in Darian Reynolds.
Yeah.
on, headshot. Boom. Hello.
Hi.
What it do,
Hi.
Darian? What's good?
Not much. How are you?
We're good. How are you today, sir?
I'm feeling good. Can't complain, although I can, but what's the point?
Okay, that part.
That's valid.
Life is lifing. That
It's all
part.
about perspective.
It
Things
is.
are great. I have a roof over my head. Like things are well. I can complain, but what's the point?
I love that. First of all, let's get into this wrestling thing.
I was really gonna ask. I was like, so you are a part of the WWE?
And no, I wish that would be cool if I was, but no, I kind of just collect the belts at this point.
Okay.
I don't know. It just when I was younger, I always just liked wrestling, and I always told myself I would never get like a plastic one. I always get a real one, and then I got my own money now. I just buy them and collect them. I have like 6 right now.
Oh, that's right.
I love that. So first, let's get into your pronouns and then your orientation, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Of the sexual persuasion or what?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, my name is Darian Reynolds. I'm from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. I use he, him pronouns, and I identify as gay.
Period. We love that. So today we are talking about the difficulties and the hardships living into stereotypes and living up to all the bullshit. Actually, no, we got a warning label, don't we?
So do
yeah,
we
could curse a little bit. So yeah, all
ground.
the bullshit that comes with just being a Black queer individual. First off, for those who don't know, Darian is my special, and I love him. For those who don't know what a special is,
okay, not all of us is green. Okay,
right.
Not green.
Essentially, doing one's intake process. Exactly. During one's intake process, a person can, look after you and be like, I see something special in you. And he saw something special in me, so he's special to me. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Darian, do you feel you have to uphold certain standards for yourself, like with being a queer individual? We're going to say queer because we use queer here. So,
just thinking about life in general, like yes, there's so many different kinds of standards and just ideologies that you think that you have to uphold as a person, and in being a double minority, one being Black and then being queer on the latter part of it, there's so many standards, whether it's thinking, reassuring yourself in the workplace that you are qualified enough, even though, you see other people getting advances, a little bit further than you, and just the overall, I feel like a lot of it comes from society, to be completely honest, and those societal factors and influences and just the overall comparison. I think a lot of that is credit to technology too, but me personally, I try to keep myself level with, what I have going on, and ensure, there are some that I probably would acknowledge that I still, try to achieve, to this day. But I think they're also in the same sense, important to my personal growth, if that makes sense too.
Okay. And what is your occupation? You don't have to say where, just say what you do.
Yeah, so I primarily work in higher education. So I've had the unique experience of working in like the rental car industry. I've worked K through 12 before. I've worked at the Apple store. So my calling, I would like to say, is with student development, student support. But right now, I work in higher education at a university.
Nice. Okay, he's smart.
So do you feel like working in higher education, does that ever interfere with how you maneuver in the spaces, like being a queer individual, like,
Sometimes, and I would say sometimes because I like to.
I was going to add a little tad bit in there, especially as well, because you are a more masculine presenting queer individual. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to initially like fill things out to see what the dynamic is before I really, let myself be comfortable in an environment. But you mentioning the more masculine approach to it. So like I'm the type of person where you'll hear, I'm me. Like I don't like, yes, I will identify as, gay, but like at the end of the day, I'm not one who necessarily felt like I need to make an announcement about it. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, regardless of what you say or how you feel, So a lot of people can't tell unless I don't know, maybe say things a certain way in the moment, or, I tell them or something like that. But so I don't know. I always just try to be unapologetically me in an environment, but I also like to make sure that the space is at least, semi capable of supporting that to a degree. I know it's not going to be always open arms, but, I've been very lucky in a lot of the places I worked with, and the people I worked with, places I worked at, excuse me, that really wasn't an issue. So
do you feel like you code switch in certain situations as far as like, how you express yourself in your gay/queerness? Because I want to make sure that I'm, respecting your labels and things and such. Because I know for myself, like depending on where I am, I will code switch a little bit because I don't always look like this. I'm not always this. But I typically code switch if I'm like in a space where I would like to command respect. And I feel like a lot of the times as a queer individual, especially as a Black queer individual at that, intersectionality or double minority, as you mentioned earlier, we don't always get it. So like, in order for me to get where I need to go and get it fast, like I won't necessarily change who I am or change how I speak, but I will just, keep it at like a minimum, just like I'm here for business, maybe depending on if I'm going somewhere, like I'll, dress it up a little bit different, but for the and I'll do that just to like, so I can get my respect so that I'm heard and that my business is handled with care. So is that the same for you? Like, have you ever done that? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that you just put it, so like the way that I would look at it is, work me and not work me are two completely different people. Like there's a TikTok floating around with the guy, he has the suit on, he gets in the car, the music's playing in the background, and he's just turned into a whole different person. Like that's me, and that's a lot of us. I mean, I would like to genuinely say that I'm my authentic self in those spaces, but the way that I might maybe word things might be differently, or maybe the mannerisms that follow the words that I say be different. Because at least Ryan knows me, like I can be very expressive when I talk sometimes, or depending on a certain emotion, it's very visible in my face, and sometimes it also reflects in the things that I say. But I'd like to think that at all times, no matter the situation, whether I'm code switching or not, I'm still being true to myself. It's just a matter of being a certain way, I guess, to make your points get across, like you say, commanding respect.
That's period. And tell the people your zodiac sign.
The best in the game, the Geminis.
Okay. Just had to put that out there real quick
Geminis
because
beautiful. My mom's a Gemini.
We are amazing individuals. Okay.
Absolutely. Can't nobody say that otherwise.
So do you feel there are any positives about being a gay or queer individual, and also negatives? Like, what are your positives and what are your negatives from your experiences thus far?
I would definitely say the positives. It's just really the people, the community, the love, the support. I think a lot of my some of my most well-intentioned friendships have come from the LGBTQ plus community. Hello. Listen, I was nervous to say because sometimes my tongue slips a little bit, but No, but the most genuine people have been, within that community, no matter how they identify. And it just affirms the fact that, we're people too, at the end of the day. And we just, we're just here to exist and do the same things that, everyone else is able to do in their own, freedoms. So like, I don't know. I've found that to be my favorite thing about it. The one thing I would say I didn't or I don't like didn't like about my experience is how long it took to really come to an understanding of who I am, and I'm not this or I'm not that, those negative connotations or thoughts that I had at the time whenever I was really confused because no one really talked about it at that time. Like, I mean, to age myself, I'm 27. So like, back then, listening to how, your family members talked about it and how they, said derogatory things. It's just like, it was just a thing you never talked about. So, I'm a late bloomer to being able to really, be comfortable with myself and just be myself and, not care what people say. So that I would say that was the most thing that I didn't like about it. I'd never really had like a bad experience, just thinking back. I mean, sure, there was the high school or junior high, whatever, whenever it was, bullying stuff, but like that was stuff that I could handle. That actually, made me, who I am today with my thicker skin. Can't nobody touch me now or check me. Who gonna check me, boo? But yeah.
I was like, who's that? Dion.
So,
I didn't even notice in the comments.
Are there any stereotypes like you feel you consistently have to fight or fight against or debunk, being like queer or black?
And honestly, I was just gonna say that I feel like a lot of the stereotypes that I still have to face nowadays are more for being black than queer. And I think that's more because of the masculine presentation that I give off, I guess. And a lot of that just comes in, the workplace and the other things that I'm involved in, just being or attempting to show that, yes, I'm also qualified to do the same things that you're able to do, though I like men. Like, what does that have to do with anything, But yeah, a lot of the stereotypes definitely I would say are more from being black than queer.
And that's that's in the overall community.
I mean, within the black community, I'm fortunate enough to be around a lot of people that's, my friends that are now my family that I've, selected myself. And, my family itself, the ones that I actually interact with, on a day-to-day basis, the ones that are close to me, like that's never have really been an issue, so I've been, I guess, one of those fortunate ones to have a, support system to love you, no matter however you identify. But I would say in the sense, it's kind of the opposite, thinking about it from the lens of the white community, going into certain spaces, just being black, and I mean, I guess black and queer at that point. So like, there's only so many places here in Pittsburgh where I live to actually go out and, be queer and be yourself without, having to worry about what's going to happen and whatnot. So, sometimes even walking in those spaces, you can, just feel and look and see the eyes and the judgy looks. And it's just like, well, for what, So yeah, I would say the stereotypes about the queerness will come more from the white community, but more of the blackness in general, and then the hardships within the black community itself that we all face to this day.
That part. Do you feel like you have more privilege, or are you aware of a privilege? Because I feel like naturally more masculine presenting queer men have more privileges than those who present feminine.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you have more privileges, and if so, what are they?
Absolutely. I mean, because I can just be in a place and exist as blunt as that is. You know, I can be in certain places and not be questioned or, you know, become a target per se just because of, you know, the way that I dress or maybe the way that I stand or maybe the way that my voice is or, you know, I mean, I get my eyebrows done too, but, you know, I don't get them done on a consistent basis. So like even those little noticeable things that, you know, are associated with being gay or being queer rather, I have that privilege to not have to experience that because of my more masculine presenting self. It's something that, you know, I don't want to say I'm happy to have that because at the end of the day, you know, we're all out here trying to achieve equality, but like that's a privilege I do recognize I have. Yes.
That's good. Did you want to say something, Carlos? It sounded like you had something in your mind.
Honestly, yeah, because we're talking about how, you know, being a Black queer is like, you know, can be difficult and things like that. And we're speaking on, you know, society as a whole. But what about within our own community, within the LGBTQ community?
Let's get into it.
Because for me, myself, okay, I like to think that I was creative, but no. But no, for me, I am a little like I'm a blend. I'm a mixture, you know, because I can't change my face. Like my face is always going to give like raw, like you know, like if I shave my beard and maybe do the brows and the whole nine, but I'm not doing that. So my face is always going to give masculine, but like what I wear, you know, is kind of like confusing. So I say all of that to say, we're going back to the whole stereotypes thing for me, like. In the Black community and the overall community, I'm an anomaly anyway, just by being like gay. So like those are the typical stereotypes, like, you know, debunking the hyper femininity or, you know, the flamboyantness, the you know, makeup and things like that, showing them that there are different ways to be gay because I do it all. I do it all, except for like, you know, maybe like a full face. That's you get that rarely or on a job. But as far as like the LGBTQ community, like me not only being like a blend, but also being a top, like I have to debunk stereotypes like, oh, you know, like tops aren't supposed to be feminine. They're supposed to be like masculine. You know, why are you shaking ass in the club? Like that's, you know, it's not giving top. Like, you know, that's not, or you have feelings like, why are you crying? Like all of those things, like, yeah. So all of those things, like, although we don't really get that in the, you know, cis het community or just the het community, because, you know, those are things that are expected of us as queer individuals. In our own community, we are still like beating each other up for like little things like that, just because, you know, there's still this divide of you're supposed to be this way if you are this thing.
That part. Yeah. I feel like I'm saying that a lot because it's like I just keep agreeing that part.
But we can because that was so long, we were gonna get your answer right after this commercial break.
Yes. Okay. AC.
Are you in need of a quick and easy way to know your HIV status? Swab and Chill is a discreet way to learn your status in the comfort of your own home. The process gives you results in 20 minutes. Swab the upper gums, swab the lower gums, and voila! Simply follow the colorful step-by-step instructions located inside the kit. Or call APLA and we can assist you virtually. In addition, all kits include condoms and lube for that penetrative fun. For our trans clients, we have Swab and Chill Plus, a customizable kit for trans-specific needs. And we haven't forgotten about COVID either. All kits include personal protection gear, like face masks, comfortable yet stylish. A personal touch tool for dealing with those germ-infested handles and ATM keypads. Wet wipes for those little messes that need cleaning up. Also, keep that summer body protected with Swab and Chill sunscreen. And don't forget about our fanny packs for those quick trips to the store. All this can be yours. Simply call Swab and Chill at 323-329-9713 or email us at swabandchill@apla.org. We would love for you to be part of our Swab and Chill family.
Come swab and chill with us!
And we are back. We is Bizak.
Yeah.
We're back. Thank you for watching Healthy Him, y'all. If y'all haven't been watching so far, we are talking about It's a Hard Not Life, okay? It's a hard not life. We are talking about being a Black queer man. And queer is a big umbrella. So you could be anything under the queer umbrella, y'all. We're talking about being a Black queer man in America.
Jimmy, A, bi, poly.
All the things.
Actually, that's a type of relationship.
Yes.
My bad. Throw that away.
But yeah. But anyway, we're talking about how it is to be a Black queer individual as a whole in this society. So get back to your question, Koa.
Okay, so basically we were talking about, are there any stereotypes that you feel you consistently have to fight against / debunk? And you answered earlier about like, you know, the straight, you know, Black and white community. But now I'm asking you about like the LGBTQ community. Before the commercial, I had the example of me being a top and liking to shake ass, and people like, you can't do that because you a top, you know. So what are some things, are there any stereotypes like that within our own community that you feel like you have to fight against / debunk?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind with me, honestly, is like sometimes the feeling or the notion that I'm not gay enough. Honestly, it feels that way sometimes, and like I don't know, like
elaborate on that.
So sometimes like I would, because like this is me, you know, like I'm in my Adidas sweats. I got my hoodie. I got a hat. Signed by Tiana Taylor, by the way. Like whenever I'm out in spaces, you know, like I'm always to some kind of, you know, formal degree. So like sometimes I feel like I have to do more or be more intentional with how I present myself within the community to, you know, kind of feel like I'm actually supposed to be in the space, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say it's easier for me to thrive in a, you know, a more hetero space because of my presentation, but like I don't really like being in those spaces. Mm-hmm. So like I try to put myself in those, you know, intentional spaces, you know, within my community, but I just sometimes feel, you know, out of place within it. So, you know, sometimes I feel as if I'm in a battle with myself to, you know, I don't know, justify or, you know, reassure my gayness or my queerness. Yeah, that's not really a stereotype, but you know, that was really the first thing that came to mind, honestly, whenever you asked that question. But even thinking about the masculine presenting side, I get a lot of times people just assuming that I'm the top whenever, spoiler alert, like I'm not, so I get that a lot sometimes. And it really makes situations and conversations a big turnoff, because that's always like one of the very first things that's brought up too. So I don't know. I just like to be more intentional and genuine with things, and we'll figure it out later. But battling that in itself just because of the way I look is always a challenge.
So do they consider you the trade out there? Because like you said, you're not gay enough, but that's typically, well, at least in Los Angeles, the not gay enough is like not necessarily not frowned upon. They eat that up out here. They're like, ooh, the trade, and he's actually, I love that, So how is that, out in Pittsburgh or in your experience in general?
I mean, do I give it sometimes? Yeah, but like I personally wouldn't consider myself that. I don't know, Ryan, would you agree? I don't think I would. And I don't really think Pittsburgh in itself and its culture is really like so people's the use of that word here in Pittsburgh might not be used in the way that it actually should be used. If that makes sense.
Yes, I agree with that. I do think you are knowing how Pittsburgh is, there aren't many options when it comes to Black queer men. And when you do like see a range, 9 times out of 10, they are more on the feminine presenting side. So I do believe you are on obviously the masculine presenting side, but like when people get to know you, then they like, okay, it's different. And same thing like what you said. Like you're not allowed to be this feminine individual because you're the
people
top.
think I'm a verse or bottom.
Like, exactly. So it's like you're not allowed or given that space to not just explore, but also just be you. Like, like to simply just, you
don't get to exist
exactly
in either world, whether it be the LGBTQIA or the heterosexual world. Is really wild.
People forget that your energies can fluctuate, both feminine and masculine. And I think that's the issue that we really need to debunk the most in society, because that's annoying.
And those are not direct correlations to your sexual preference and positioning.
That part.
Absolutely.
Like your energy does not correlate not directly correlate to any way, shape, or form of how you like to get down in the bedroom.
Right. Because, the thing that grinds my gears is people be like, who's the boy and the girl? Like, what? How do we get to this point? Like, what? Like, I know what you're asking, but like, that's not the way to ask it, and that's not the way that goes. Like
at all.
It's a lot of heteronormativity.
We're both men.
It's a lot of heteronormativity. But do you feel like comparing the two? You said you feel more comfortable in heterosexual spaces. Do you feel as though the Black is easier? Or the white is easier? Because the white is always looking at your skin color and not your sexuality, but then the Black is looking at your sexuality and not your skin color.
Get controversial with it, co-host. I know that's right. Go ahead.
I would say my answer has like a layer to it. I would say in Black spaces, but the spaces that I have control over. Now, if I'm going somewhere else, let's say I pull up to, I don't know, Baltimore. I don't know what's going to happen if I'm out there. Hey, y'all, like pulling up to the club, or, driving around with my windows down, blasting Saucy Santana like I do up here. Like, it really just depends on your level of comfortability, I guess, really, whenever it comes to it. So, like, I feel like, I can do that here in Pittsburgh. I've been here. I live here. Like, I go down to, I claim other places as my home. So, like, Atlanta, Charlotte, a couple places in VA. So like those places where I know people and people know me, like I'm more prone to be relaxed and be myself and, what I'm doing right now. But the uneasiness comes where I don't know where I'm at. I don't know these people. I don't know what type time they on. So like I'm real reserved.
I feel that. Okay, so also being a obviously masculine presenting queer man, and being a part of a Black Greek letter organization, you don't have to say it if you don't want to, but you should. How did maneuvering that space like change how you thought about that community, the Black hetero community? Like, did you change how you were to maneuver that space, or you know?
Well, first off, shout out to the good bros of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay.
I'm thinking of. I would say no. I don't think I necessarily had to adapt or change myself. I mean, thinking about the spaces and the people that I've had to come in contact with, you know, I would first like to acknowledge that, you know, no one area is going to be the same no matter where you go. It's always going to be, you know, different people, and no one chapter represents the entire organization. So like the people that I've had the pleasure of working with, they've been, you know, really understanding. It's something that's pretty I guess you can say quote unquote normal here in Pittsburgh. And you know, they're the type of people that acknowledge like we have people that you know aren't going to identify the way that we do within a fraternity. It's life. It's what's going to happen. So locally, I've been fortunate enough to, you know, not have those issues. And if an issue ever came up, it was a mere conversation that, you know, took care of that. I'm a big firm believer in conversation can solve most things. I don't say all because some people are very hard-headed. But, you know, whenever you go into those other places and, you know, you're, you know, presenting your authentic self and people aren't used to that, you know, sometimes you might run into you know, challenge. You know, I had that happen, you know, at one point, and, you know, I had to kind of defend myself in the community because I was the only one there. But again, they did not know because I have this masculine presenting, you know, personality. So, you know, it was a moment that I got to educate someone, but it also made me feel good because, you know, I was doing something to advocate for, you know, a part of myself that, you know, I hold dear to myself now that I have it, but also, you know, sticking up for the community in itself.
So what do you feel is like the hardest thing about being a Black queer man in America? Or what are the hardest things? Because I know it's plural.
The first thing that comes to mind is unlearning everything you were taught. Woo. In order to learn how to truly love yourself, to exist in, you know, in a space that was not necessarily, you know, molded to be what it is now, and not as accepting of, you know, all people. You know, we think to, you know, certain upbringings, gosh, word steering. And, you know, they're not all the same. So like some people, you know, would go through the, you know, the man up, you know, boys don't cry, you know, we don't talk about our emotions, our feelings. And, you know, these are things that we remember and we just unconsciously do. But whenever it comes to a point where, you know, we get help, whether it's therapy, talking to someone else, and we realize that those toxic traits and teachings are, you know, a lot of the reason of why we're unhappy and why we can't really be and do what we want to do. So I would think the hardest part really is unlearning and relearning how to really flourish and be yourself, the person you were essentially robbed of having the chance of being so long ago.
And how would you say like you have done that thus far?
Self-exploration. I would say a lot of that comes through the collegiate years. Ironically, that's something that I read in my studies in my program is, you know, coming to college, you're so independent, you know, and everything's so new and you don't really know how to maneuver it, and you have to explore to figure it out, essentially, you know. So, you know, thinking about those different, you know, topics of, you know, social identity, sexual, you know, all the different things that you can truly learn about yourself. I feel like those years were the best for me in my journey, I guess you can say, because that's whenever I was truly surrounded with, you know, a welcoming and supportive community, whether it be the friends that I made, you know, the offices that I was involved with, you know, the even shoot the athletes, you know, it was just a very robust time for me. And again, I was just fortunate enough to have, or I guess, surround myself with the people that I have in my corner, even now, still to this day.
How do you feel we as a community can essentially free ourselves from all of these, you know, issues, these pressures of society?
I mean, and that's the conflicting part, because it's not our jobs to educate
That part.
everyone. It's honestly not, and it's hard because without the proper education, you know, people who are never really exposed to it, sometimes they truly don't know, you know, what not to say or how not to say something or ask a certain thing, even though they might have good intent. Um, so I really don't want to recommend that, but I guess it's just being open to teachable moments, but not doing the education. So I would like to, you know, so like how I checked the one person in the one situation, you know, just not being afraid to stand up for what you believe in, and, you know, essentially who you are, and right from wrong. Because, you know, a lot of people argue there is no right and wrong. I mean, whenever it comes to human decency, it's pretty clear, you know. But even just thinking to yourself, you know, just practicing those things to, you know, build that self-love, that self-appreciation, to know that you too matter, you too belong, and just, you know, affirming yourself in this world, in this current moment in society. I feel like, you know, a strong mind and a strong will can go a long way. You know, people are cruel in the world. And unfortunately, it's not going to end anytime soon, but we're out here making this fight to, you know, continue to push towards that. So just continue to work on yourself, and that self-love.
Definitely that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Darian, what is something that you would consider hard about being gay / queer, but would be like beneficial for everything to do? And I'll give you a little example. For me, I think what's hard about being queer is like, for me, I take my health very seriously. And back in the day, I was very, very, very sexually active. So I would get tested like, you know, at least like once a month or every 3 months and things like that. And I feel like that is very tedious to do. And although, like, you know, HIV is not a gay disease, and neither is like gonorrhea, chlamydia, or syphilis, you know, hepatitis, all those things, you know, but
Some are viruses, some are bacteria. But go ahead.
you know, I'm laying it all out. A sexual health show.
Correct.
Okay.
You're right.
So, yeah, for me, I think that's something that's very like difficult and kind of like tedious to do, because it's just like, fuck, like, you know, I don't want to go to the doctor right now. I don't want like them to put this needle in my arm and draw my blood so that I can make sure that everything is okay. But like the fact of the matter is, it's just like, if you are sexually active, and especially if it is very like accessible, you know, that's something that you have to do. And although like the hetero community is, you know, as sexually active, if not more, you know, it's just not talked about because it's normalized. They, you know, they don't get, well, at least the men, the men, and the studies show that the men do not get tested as much as they should. But if they got tested as much as we did, I feel like it would be beneficial to them. So like something like that, like getting tested. So what's something that you feel is hard about being gay / queer, but will be beneficial to like everybody if they did it?
Is that what you're saying?
No, like something. I mean, they don't have to be necessarily like gay, but like for example, another one I feel like would be like the freedom of expression.
That was where I was thinking too. Just being able to go through that phase in itself to appreciate it even more, but then you grow a deeper appreciation for other people too. And because you think about it, whenever it comes to considering other people's objectives and the way that they think, because no two people think the same. We might have the same idea, but our thought process and how we got from point A to point B, although it may be the same result, can be two completely different thought processes. So going through that in that self-exploration and that self-reflection and self-actualization, that entire process, I feel like, again, our journey as queer folk and how we go through that sometimes is not the easiest, and it's very challenging to do so, especially in an environment where you're not necessarily safe to do so. I feel like going through that whenever we do have the opportunity to do so, although it might be challenging, again, because of that confusing aspect of having to unlearn things just to learn the things that we should be living in. I'm gonna say abiding by, but the way that we should be living our lives, the way that we should be unapologetically. But it would come in the benefit of others, and I definitely, I don't want to point a finger to specifically the Black community, but we need that, being able to have those conversations about why the way we are, whether it be, a traumatic event, whether it's a generational curse that we just don't really see because it's so natural to us at this point. Again, we do a lot of unconscious things and we don't know that we do them, but it's just because it was normal. It is what we saw. It is what we do at this point. So it's really, I feel like that overall process, the communication of it, the journey of it would be so helpful to so many different people, to so many different families, and especially the Black community, and really starting to make, real strides in repairing us and working on us to come together to do great things.
Period. You hear that, Black people? Stop telling them little boys and girls that that's gay. Don't do that. Let them explore. They don't even know what gay is yet.
That part.
Right. If they a little stuck like this, just ignore it. It's all right.
I still do that, and I be forgetting I be doing.
I still do too, and I always think about my childhood and what used to be said after I do that. I'm just like, I'm grown now. Like, I don't care.
For me, it's more of a this thing.
Yeah, my flicker is just be there. But we always end our episode, as we come into a wrap, we always end our episode with an advice portion from our guests. So essentially, what advice would you give a Black queer individual who's having a hardship or having a hard time with coming to terms with dealing with society and dealing with these stereotypes and just trying to fight and debunk everything and do this unlearning that you spoke of before?
Yeah, I would say one of the most important things is to surround yourself by those people who have your best intentions at heart. Having a support system to go through this journey would be, super helpful to anyone, whether it's one person, whether it's two people. Hell, if you have a whole group of 5, that's even better. But never feel like you have to be alone, because there's always at least one person somewhere, whether it's, a family friend, whether it's a, classmate, someone's more than likely always willing to be there for you. You just have to seek that and, always keep yourself as the prize. You are the prize. So practice that self-love. But yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay, so are you taking your advice? Because some people give advice, but they don't take their own advice.
I would like to think that I am. I'm taking the necessary steps right now to put myself in a better position to make myself more comfortable. And the pandemic and inflation, it really, threw a curveball and changed a lot of things. So I had to have that moment of reflection to sit down and realize, things aren't where the way they were maybe, a year and a half ago. Just with changing of jobs and living arrangements and other things like that, and just the overall price of going outside to breathe air. I would like to think so. I have a trip coming up that I'm very excited about. With some of my close friends. We're gonna have a great time bringing the New Year's. You're right. I almost said where we was going, but it's a great time. I always try to find those intentional pockets of time where I can do things to continue to pour into myself. That way I'm not depleted, trying to help someone else in their process.
Absolutely. I love that.
I
I was gonna ask you the same thing. I'm long-winded, so
you take a little minute.
Exactly.
We're about to need to wrap this up.
Okay.
But I would say essentially, take the necessary steps to reflect, have an introspection of what do you genuinely need to unlearn. I feel like a lot of people, I had this conversation recently with my supervisor on like a lot of people just have this trauma with a lot of straight Black cis het individuals. And it comes from our families. It comes from telling them like, oh, that's gay, don't do that. Or you can't play with Barbies, or this is like, okay, like you can't cry. You like, and then a lot of things just happen over time. So then that straight individual, they grow up straight, but then they end up hating Black gay men. And then it's like, they hate them because it's like, oh, well, I had this treatment and my grandmother told me that I'm not supposed to like you. And she told me that it's not right that what you're doing. It's like, you never had the time to have a conversation with me. So just stop, take a moment and unlearn and really sit and reflect. Am I genuinely disliking this person because I don't like them? Or is it because of something that I was taught? Because 9 times out of 10, it's something that you were taught or heard. Because nobody grows up being like, oh, I don't like these people. Black and white babies grow up all the time together and they be perfectly fine until somebody tells them you're not supposed to be with that person or hang out with that person or do this with this person. So it's like,
other cultural differences just come to that collision.
Exactly. And that's okay. Because once you experience something like that, then it's like, okay, yeah, I can't mess with you. But other than that, most times you're learning this from somewhere. And a lot of the older generations, they all just got to die, y'all. They just got to die. None of this is going to stop until they all die. Let's be real.
They got real morbid real fast. But okay, I'm going to wrap this thing on up. So my advice to the queers, to the gays, would just be always remember that you don't really need outside acceptance, approval, or, suggestion. Like critiques, constructive criticism is nice, but take what applies and leave what doesn't. At the end of the day, the things that you should really be focused on, like Darian said, is yourself. You are the prize. You are the one who you're gonna be with at the end of the day. Like, you came in this world alone. You're probably gonna go out of this world alone unless you got some, some freak accident where it's like you and your man's or you and your woman's. But yeah, like just always remember, you don't need the outside. You don't need the outside approval. You don't need the outside thoughts and ideas. Like the only thing that you need to focus on is what is making you happy, what you want to do, how you want to show up in the world. And think about it like this. If you were to die tomorrow and your coworkers, your friends, and, chosen family and your biological family came to your funeral and they spoke, what would you want them to say? Like, what would you want them to say? And just do that. Be that.
Okay, and I just want y'all all to remember, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and that's that on that. Darian, thank you so much. Darian, our MSED. Okay, let them know. MSED. He got a master jaw. That's the special.
Okay. I was going to laugh, but that might be a little too loud. Check it out.
Thank you for being on the show today. And yeah. Hopefully
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hopefully you have a good time on your New Year's trip, because I didn't hear about it yet, but I'll ask you about it later. And yeah, hopefully y'all learned something today. And we'll be back next Tuesday, every Tuesday, 4:30 to 5:30. It's your fave duo saying bye.